All right. Let's start with our Unit 1, Writing Freedom, Words That Shaped a Nation, Socratic discussion. Um, let's first start with our first question. What is the meaning of freedom? Anyone like to start that?
I believe that freedom means the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. People are able to live their life the way they choose to, and they have the right to believe whatever they want to while still living in a lawful environment.
I agree with that statement about the liberty, life, and pursuit of happiness, and live in a lawful environment.
I agree with that idea because in America, I believe we're free and we have the right to believe or think whatever we want. However, we can't do whatever we want. We still have to stay under some law or regulation.
I agree with Hayden. I think you should be able to do and say what you want, but in a respectful manner.
I also agree with Hayden because you do have rights and freedoms, but you do have regulations and laws.
I agree with Caleb because we do have rights, but we also have laws that we have to follow.
No, what kind of evidence does anyone have for that statement?
Page 6 in our book states that we can exercise our freedoms however we would like to. And there's also primary source documents that help explain how we can exercise freedom.
One of the primary source documents that I think helps describe our freedom is the First Amendment, when it says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise therefore, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right for the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Now, I personally believe that the true definition of freedom is the ability to do, say, or whatever you think without any restraint at all. That's the true freedom. Now, you can have, nowadays, for us, we have restrictions on freedom, obviously. But I believe that that's what true freedom actually is.
So you're saying that you don't think there should be any laws or restrictions?
I never said there shouldn't be laws or restrictions. I'm saying that's the true definition of freedom.
Do you think we should consider other people's rights, though, as we exercise those freedoms?
Yeah, but I'm not. The question is, what is the meaning of freedom? I'm not saying this is the true definition. That's my definition of true freedom, not necessarily what it is today. What we actually have.
What's your evidence for this?
It's my personal experience. What I think. It's not necessarily based on any text. It's just what I think.
Okay.
Because of what?
Is it what? Well, if you do look at the definition of freedom, this is also where I got mine, is the power to or act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. That's where I think. I agree with that. That's my answer to that.
So what you're basically saying is that, in your opinion, a true definition of freedom is that you have the right to do whatever you want. However, in America today, we still are free, but we have to follow some regulation.
Yeah, so we do not live under true freedom. All right. Moving on, our second discussion is about what statement is most compelling for Americans today, either the preamble to the Constitution or the "We hold these truths" sentence of the Declaration of Independence.
I would say that I think that the "We hold these truths" sentence of the Declaration of Independence is much more compelling and relevant to America today, seeing as it references issues like equality and basic human rights. And I believe that that's what we really fight for in America today as people.
I agree with that statement because I've observed that it's highly discouraged to discriminate, and we also pay attention to our happiness, and those are some of the rights that are stated in the Declaration.
Although the preamble of the Constitution shows important ideas, I agree with your statement that the Declaration of Independence is more important. I think this because it shows that Americans care most about their freedoms.
Kendra, what are your opinions on this?
I agree with you guys because in that sentence it says that we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and our nation might be free and happy as it is today.
What do you think, Caleb?
I do agree with all of you because the Declaration of Independence does really show what freedom means and what it means to the people of America.
Did anyone choose the preamble?
I did. I believe that it's more compelling because it says we the people, and I think that's more unity than the Declaration of Independence has.
I see your point there.
Did anyone have any evidence based on history for their opinion?
I have when Lincoln says in the Gettysburg Address, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, because that's what it says in the Declaration that all men are created equal.
I see your point.
Thank you.
I'd like to go back to what Kenzie said about the preamble. Do you have any other evidence on why you think the preamble is more relevant than the Declaration of Independence?
I can't find my other. I just think that I don't have much more than I think that it's just more unity. I think it allows everyone, and I think something that bothers me about the Declaration of Independence is it says men, so it just says men. It doesn't say men and women, so I feel like there's not as much equality in that one.
Well, I don't think that when it says men, it's not necessarily meaning necessarily men.
I know,
It's
I-
saying men as in humans and
Yeah,
mankind
I
in general.
I realize
I don't
that,
think
but
it's necessarily saying, and you gotta go with the times. Was it necessarily, they weren't saying men and women, it was men in this, when they wrote this, that Continental Congress was all men. Not necessarily meaning it's men, it's just that's how they said it.
I see your point.
The preamble it can be like a counter argument to my opinion on the Declaration being more compelling, just because it discusses a lot about like liberty, and that plays a big role in how America is today.
I see how the preamble is important because it is really what kind of started our government, whereas the Declaration started our freedoms.
I also believe that. I believe it's important, but I think that the Constitution and the preamble of the Constitution was just kind of the setting up of the government and what we were going to be founded on. I don't think it necessarily is as relevant. It just says, like it says in the preamble, it says blessings of liberty and justice. I believe that in the Declaration of Independence, it clearly states the three unalienable rights, which I think are more relevant than what the preamble is saying.
I agree with this because even in history, like the propaganda from that time showed that people really focused on their unalienable rights and they really wanted to fight against being controlled.
I agree with this, and I think that the Declaration of Independence helped the women, African Americans, and some of them were gain their freedoms later when they realized that everyone was treated equal.
What do you think about this, Caleb? Or not Caleb, Austin?
Well, I think that although it does state that all men are created equal, there are still these stereotypes that people talk about. So can we be truly like fully equal?
Well, since we only have 5 minutes left, maybe we should move on to the next topic.
All right. We'll move on to the third discussion topic. What concept studied, read about, or discussed in this unit was most powerful to you and why?
I felt that reading about the writing of the Constitution had the biggest impact on me because reading about it, I really thought about people who fought oppression and tyranny from where they were and really worked hard to create a nation for themselves and a free nation that for anyone else who would come after them.
I really agree with with that. That the founders or whatever had the courage to stand up against such a tyrannical government that was oppressing them, and they just stood up. I agree with that.
Those are really good points, but I felt that the Gettysburg Address was the most powerful because the message was short, but it was truly meaningful, and it used a lot of words such as dedicated that gave it a lot of power. And the primary source documents showed how hard the founders worked and how it needed to be continued in order for America to succeed.
I agree with Kate because I thought it was also very compelling because it showed it from a different perspective. It showed it from his eyes. So it really saw what he thought freedom meant. And
I agree with the point that the Gettysburg Address is important. And one of the reasons I think this is because they used kind of evidence from the Declaration of Independence when they said conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Kenzie, what do you think about this?
I agree with you guys, but I liked the argumentative essay in the beginning. I like the fact that it wasn't just all facts and it had direct facts that led to points. And I liked it more because it was opinionated.
I would like to add to Mackenzie's point that this helped me understand that freedom is important to everyone, but you can't infringe your freedom on others. You can't hurt other people because you're free.
I agree with Kate's statement about the Gettysburg Address, but I also agree with the Declaration of Independence because it also says that all men are created equal, and they both state that. I think that's an important statement.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add on this topic?
Going back to Emily's statement with freedom, how we can hurt people, I put the Bill of Rights, how it gives us rights to things like right to bear arms and right to freedom of speech. Although we have the freedom of speech, we can still hurt people with our words.
Does anybody else have anything to add about what Austin said? Let's move on to our own question that we could have made. Would anybody like to start?
What did you guys find to be the moral or the point of writing our argumentative essays?
I think the point of us writing argumentative essays was to make us think about how we feel, to get us thinking about how historic documents are important.
I agree with that statement because we were able to really gather our thoughts and form our own opinions and really understand what we believe.
I would agree with what Emily said. I think the point mostly was to really get us thinking about what freedom we have and what it really means to us and express what we think it is.
Yeah, I also agree with that. It really made us think about the time that when it was written and how it's still relevant today.
Caleb, do you have anything to say?
yeah, I do agree with it because my blank.
Does anyone else have a question?
Since most of us chose the third paragraph, the sentence of "we hold these truths," why, what part of that was most compelling to you guys in that sentence of the Declaration of
I found it
Independence?
most compelling talking about the unalienable rights just because America focuses on those so much today.
I would agree with Kate about when it talks about the inalienable rights because your rights is what freedom really is.
I think my bad. Okay. I agree with that, but I'd like to extend it a little bit farther. I said that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. That I think that these rights were given to us by God, and that they cannot be taken away from us. Nobody can, and no matter where you are, you're gifted with these rights.
I agree with your statement about the rights, and I think that it's still relevant today, which is why it's most important.
Any other
Who else has a
discussion?
question?
So in the past, everyone in the country hasn't had the same rights. Like women and African Americans weren't able to vote. Do you believe that that has changed and now everyone has these same rights?
Go ahead and finish your question. Yep.
I believe for the most part that people have the same rights, but I still think that we're not fully equal in that there, as Austin said earlier, we still have stereotypes. So
Yeah, I agree with that. We still today, even though we are technically, I guess, equal, but we aren't because we do still discriminate and have stereotypes against each other.
I agree with that statement because as today we all are equal, but if we tell people who are changing their sex and everyone they're not equal, we don't look at them the same as everyone else. We still look at people as blacks and whites. We don't think of everyone as one person.
All right. Okay, awesome job for your first Socratic discussion. Great. Before we switch, let's evaluate how did that go. I'm going to get your the inner circles ideas, but before that, I want the outer circles. What are some great things that you saw happen here?
There's a lot of the transitions.
A lot of transitions, a lot of evidence. Good. What else?
They supported each other a lot.
Yeah, like what? You mean help them to connect with one another, not just a question answer and then move on? Yeah, good. What else? Yeah, we shared
did you see
different
me go blank
opinions
for
and we did so civilly. Yeah.
They pose questions to people.
Pose questions, yeah.
Challenge each other's ideas.
Yeah, they did challenge, and that's what gets us to a deeper collective understanding when we see each other's opinions, challenge them, go deeper in it. Yeah. Outside circle, could you hear everyone on the inside?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, the volume was good. I was glad of that. Inside, what did you feel went well? What were your initial reactions?
I think that the signs and I agree with statements really help to connect ideas to each other.
Yeah, because when you connect your ideas, that's where we grow. Just voicing our opinions and then dropping them doesn't help us grow, does it? We need to connect all of our ideas. Yeah, good. What else?
Well, I guess I think I wish we were longer.
Yeah, because when did the conversation really start to get natural?
at the end.
At
Like
the
your
very
At
own-
the end, yes. And part of that is practice. Part of that is you got to create your own questions, and so you had more ownership. And actually, in our consecutive or subsequent Socratic discussions, you'll get to do more of your own questions. You come up with them as a class, so that's good too. Yeah. What else? It's great about them.
Our opinions were able to be like expanded a little bit because we kind of understood what we were trying to get at after hearing other people's ideas.
Right, share it. I'm so glad you just said that because that is the reason discussion is so powerful. And when yesterday's question for our book share, do you ever talk about what you're reading? Because when you talk about something and you get someone else's ideas, you're able to understand your own ideas better. You're able to articulate those. Yeah, that's great. So anytime you're studying something, reading something, talk about it. Talk about it so that you can understand what you're reading and talking about even more by sharing those ideas. Anything else?
Can we go? Are we completely done with this?
You on the inside are completely done. Next time, I'm so glad that you want to go longer. Next time we'll be able to go longer. Which is one thing I love about the schedule. Okay, before we switch, outside circle, what are some things that you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna need to keep this in mind so I can do an even better job
But we don't
than
have to do it here.
I thought.
State more evidence.
Okay, use more evidence and talk about it more deeply. Good. What else? Outside circle, what are some other things that you're gonna keep in mind to do, to improve on?
Increasing people.
Okay, make sure that everyone gets fairly represented.
Just by the time.
Did you see me like just like because I
Okay.
completely forgot what we were talking about.
What else?
I was like
Was
trying
it
to
balanced
remember.
or is like what Bryce said, it's something you need to work on, helping it be a balanced conversation? What do you think? Will conversations always be balanced? No, natural conversations are not usually always balanced. But we want to get that as much as possible because we want to connect everyone's valuable ideas to come to that collective understanding. All right, so quickly and quietly, since this is still recording, quickly and quietly switch spots. So you're gonna be on the outside, so I'm gonna assign roles.
Me right
Oh, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We just pitch in. You can
start with.
Yeah.
This is my favorite, my favorite day of the year is when the Socratic. You guys can Okay, we have. Yep.
Hey Morgan, how's it going?
Flipping pages.
Probably some G.
Devin, actually, it might be better if I have Sally Jo scoot over and you can Sally Jo and Olivia. Can you share that desk?
Yeah.
That'll probably.
Are you leader?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay, did you like actually having a true leader when because
Yeah.
it happened in a way that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting someone, the leader that you guys chose, to just open and then everything else flow naturally. So I'm gonna leave that up to you. I'm gonna put that idea out there, okay? Because your natural, intelligent conversations don't always have a leader per se. So just keep that in mind. Anything you need to go on before we go? All right, you may go.
I do.
So the unit we've been going over the last couple of weeks is
Oh,
writing
sorry,
freedom.
sorry. My bad. Sorry, Bryce. I didn't assign roles. Emily's like, wait a minute, we didn't assign roles. Okay, so, everyone else on the outside, are you on back channel? Okay, so I'm gonna have,
Like Peter's gonna die.
Kendra, Sam,
2%.
Kendra, Sam, and Mackenzie be commentators. So log on to the site with your name, commentator. You'll be paraphrasing what's going on. Okay. Kate, Hayden,
Yes.
you will be evidence trackers. What are each of our participants using for evidence? If you want to take,
Check one.
you want to take the girls and Hayden take the guys,
Okay, I can do that.
okay?
Check one.
Emily and Austin, you are connection trackers for communication. So what connection statements are they using? And Austin, or Caleb, sorry. Caleb, you are evaluating the evidence. What kind of evidence? Is it good evidence? Are they just quoting it? Are they citing it? Are they just alluding to it?
Okay, so for when you put your display name, what do you finish?
Your name and your role. Yep.
Yeah, you can change it. Yeah.
Name and role. I need that so that I know what you're doing. Okay, thank you for reminding me of that. And now we may begin again.
So the unit we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks is writing freedom, words that shape the nation. Some of the literature we talked about was Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Gettysburg Address. So, and freedom. So that leads us into our first question. What is the meaning of freedom?
I
Never mind, sorry.
I believe freedom is having unalienable rights and having the opportunity to live and work towards living your life. Freedom is being able to speak out in your own voice, follow your own religion, write your own words, dress your own way, and right to peaceful protest. However, if we must disobey and go against our laws, we must be punished and our rights can be revoked. We have to ensure the safety and pursuit of happiness of others as well.
I agree with Emma because yes, we get a bunch of freedom, but at the same time, we have certain restrictions to stay respectful for everyone else.
I agree with Olivia because yes, we have many rights, but we also have some restrictions.
I'll go off of that. Like, we do have the right to say and stand for what we have, like, for our own opinion, but, like, you cannot, like, it has to be peaceful protest, like, if you want to protest, and you have the power or right to act, speak, and think of what you, like, want to think.
Back to Emma's idea, in our launch text, it said that total freedom could result in lawless mayhem, and I believe that's really true. We need to make sure we have a balance between individual rights and the right that we have to like protect others.
Going on with what Taylor said, I agree because on page 7 it says freedom implies a lack of restraint, but we're all better off if our freedoms are preserved, not protected.
Morgan, do you have anything to add?
I agree with Taylor. I just said the meaning of freedom is you get to live a prosperous life if you abide by your government.
Adding on, when you're abiding by the government, following those rules, if you do not, like, then such freedom should be provoked. Like, you're not gonna,
So what do you have to add?
I just agree with that. Freedom is, whatever we can do, but just the restrictions.
I think that if you're defining freedom, there's really no restrictions involved. I mean, yeah, I guess you shouldn't be able to like harm anybody, obviously, but I mean, true freedom isn't like there's no restrictions and you should be able to do whatever. That's what true freedom is.
Yeah, going off your idea, I guess that kind of makes sense because, like, we do live in a world today where they say we're free, but we really are not totally free. So I agree with that.
I would like to go off what Emma said. On page 7, it says we are bound by laws that are both restricted and protect us. That's what I kind of believe.
What might be an example of that?
Example for like a law that protects us.
Peaceful protest.
Yeah, peaceful protest stuff.
Not letting little kids drive cars.
Yeah. Well, like historical evidence, like the civil rights movement, they peacefully protested by walking, and Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech about why we should no longer have segregation, why everyone should be created equal. So that's some evidence.
All right, let's move on to question 2. Which statement is most compelling for Americans today? Either preamble to the Constitution, or we hold these truths sentence of the Declaration of Independence.
I said the Declaration of Independence, the first sentence of the third paragraph, because I think that applies to America's today more than the preamble of the Constitution. I feel like that's more like past tense.
I agree.
I'll go for that, like having equality, having unalienable rights, and having like the pursuit of happiness.
I see it differently because I believe the preamble of the Constitution, it states we the people, not just we hold these truths. So we the people, it states who they're talking, like who is actually involved, and the Independence, Declaration of Independence, it says we hold these truths, but who holds these truths? Does the government? Does the people? It doesn't really truly state who's in like power. It basically just says we hold these truths. So preamble, it states that the people, it's about the people, not just, the government. It clearly states. So
I think it's the Declaration because it affects our lives more than the preamble of the Constitution does today.
I agree with both Emma and Devin's comments. Like Emma, I agree with yours because it is stating like more specifically who it is, but I also agree with Devin's because like we all go by the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness still to this day.
And like the Declaration of Independence, it does state like all the equality for people. So I mean, it's more the people too. Like it's not only just because it doesn't say it, we the people. it's still referring to everyone.
Like the direct
see that.
quote, like all men are created equal and that they're endowed by their creator with unalienable rights. That's like a very powerful line, and it's like shaped the lives of a lot of Americans for like past generations, and it will in the future as well.
Do you guys think that, like, with what the Declaration of Independence, like, stated with all men are created equal, do you think that we really follow those, like, that line exactly in life today?
Not necessarily, no. I don't think so.
In what aspect?
Yeah,
Like,
what
all men are
aspect?
created equal. Like, do you
I
think,
understand that, but like in what aspect do you believe that that's not true?
Well, we see a lot of violence on, the news, especially where innocent black men are just shot down because I don't know how to know where this, but because like they don't disagree or they don't agree with people, and so they're targeted mainly. I see a lot of that going on.
do you think that, like, if someone were to not really rewrite, but, like, restate the Declaration, do you think that they would still have that in there? Or do you think that they would try and, like, word it differently?
No, I think it's still be.
Yeah. When looking like at why like the Constitution and the Declaration was created, Constitution was like created more of a stronger government because what they had before was the Articles of Confederation, which wasn't very strong and was kind of making. And the Declaration was more of like stating their freedom from Britain, tyranny, and stuff like that. So that's kind of why I believe that the we hold these truths statement is more relevant in today's American lives than the Constitution. Does anybody have anything else to add?
I agree with that, Bryce, because use good evidence, and that just reinstated what I believed in. Just furthered my belief.
Okay, thank you, Kate. That takes us to our third question. What concept studied, read about, or discussed in this unit about writing freedom was most powerful to you and why? Morgan, what do you think?
I think reading about the Bill of Rights because it was the most for the people article read about.
I put the Declaration of Independence because it's like a powerful message, about us becoming free.
I put reading about, like, how much it took to actually get the Declaration of Independence signed. On page 74 in the article from America's Constitution, it says, by its own terms, the document would only go into effect if ratified by specifically elected conventions in at least 9 states. So I feel like it was just harder to actually get it passed than what we actually think it was.
I would say the Bill of Rights, what Morgan said, that it's like more, I think it's more today. It applies with us more today.
I agree with KJ and Morgan in that. I felt like all the documents had a real impact on all of us. Like they're all relevant to history, but the Bill of Rights was very for the people and about the people. So
I agree with that too, because like we still hear about gun control, like it's our 2nd Amendment, so it's still in today's topic.
Very relevant.
it's very
I agree with you. But I thought that visual propaganda was most important to me just because it really stood out to me because it gave me a visual of how times used to be. Like you could really see examples.
Like what times?
the propaganda was
Like the British and like the colonists, like where they were locked up and like that kind of really stood out
In
to me.
the snake one where it was all chopped up because we weren't completely unified.
You guys all gave great points, but when I think the word powerful, like moving, like caught everyone's attention, I believe that Gettysburg Address was the most powerful to me because it just was like it was short, sweet, to the point, and it really got everyone's attention and to get what they need to get done.
I also
Go ahead.
I also agree with that because it was from like a different point of view. So it wasn't just from the point of view of like the government.
Abraham Lincoln had a lot of humility when writing that speech, and so I feel like that's very important to remember. Like today,
He had to like stand up for it. So then it kind of just led to a bunch of other people standing up for their country.
I agree with that. Plus his speech wasn't like the person before him his speech was like 2 hours long and his was only 2 minutes. So going up there and giving a 2-minute speech, like you got to be pretty brave because, you know, you
It's
don't
not
have a
that
lot to say.
stereotypical.
And you're hoping that it's enough for people to totally grasp what you're saying.
Devin, what do you think is most powerful in your eyes?
I'm thinking pretty much all of it. I mean, it's all part of American history, which is pretty powerful because it changed our lives.
All of it. What do you mean, like the Declaration of Independence?
I'm thinking, the Declaration of Independence, the Gettysburg Address, the Bill of Rights. It's all powerful.
It all led to where we are.
Yeah, it's different in different. It's different in every one of them, but it's all the same. It's powerful.
I agree with Devin.
I agree. So it sounds like we all are kind of along the same lines of what,
They all have their good things about them, and then just certain ones stick out.
So what questions did you guys pose or create?
What was your intake on the writing freedom unit? Like, what did you totally get away from it that is kind of relevant to your life today?
I think it really opened my eyes to how much actually went on to getting our freedom and all the little steps that led to it. Because nowadays we just take it for granted, kind of.
Yeah, I agree with Olivia because just not knowing that and now just figuring out all the things that we have and we take for granted.
Out of all these historic documents created by our founding fathers and vital to the foundation of this country, which one have we failed to follow through on?
I think it was the Declaration of Independence where it says all men are created equal, because that's still just such a big controversial thing in our nation.
Do you think it's actually true, it happens, or is it just a stereotype?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. It's hard kind of because we've always just grown up with it, so we don't really know how it was back then, with the slaves and how once slavery was abolished, if they were still treated equally or if they weren't treated as equal once they were abolished.
I agree with you, but at the same time, we've also made huge strides.
Mhm. So we're getting there. We just haven't quite
Yeah.
made it to the point that we all want to be at.
Key, what do you think?
Well, I have a question how do you think people act on society about having their own freedom today?
I think some people think they're invincible, and so that they have there's no repercussions for what they do. The school shootings, they think that they can just go about and do what they want because they're free. Yeah, but in all reality, we're not totally free. We do have laws and restrictions we have to
I feel
abide by.
people abuse that freedom.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Freedom.
Right, we're going to end on the word freedom. And I robbed you guys of a minute. I wasn't watching the time very well because I don't want the bell to ring and you guys to I'll be up in the air here. You guys did such a great job. I am so proud of all of you and how you used your skills. Outside circle, what are some great things that the inside circle did? Good discussion, yeah. Yes. More science. Yeah. Okay, great job, guys. We will reflect on this and watch it Tuesday.
My job is so bad.